Hey everybody, Jabman025 here. Today I'm taking a look at my 125th Master Raid, the Providence Gundam from the series Mobile Suit Gundam Seed. This kit has been on my wish list for a long time. I've always wanted a Master Raid Providence. Thrilled when they announced it. Knew I was going to get it immediately. Got it. Let's have a look, see what we got. Now starting off, the frame on this kit is Freedom 2.0. For the most part. The Freedom 2.0 frame makes sense, I guess. The Freedom and the Justice were both at the same time, and the Providence was built shortly thereafter, so it makes a lot of sense that they'd be using very similar tech. And this frame works well for this kit. The Freedom 2.0 is a little light in certain places, and I'll talk about that later. One question I had is those hoses or those cables, were they going to be plastic or rubber? The answer is rubber, and they work very well, and they look great. I'm thrilled they went ahead and went with the rubber cables. I thought that's what they should have been from day one. I was afraid they'd just, cheap out and use plastic. Nope. Rubber cables, connecting fine, no problems, looks good. And I just overlike the color scheme of this thing. The yellow is just a little bit darker, a mustard yellow. The blue is just a little bit navy blue. The red is just more of a brick red. Everything's a little bit darker, but it's a bad guy Gundam. What do you want? But on the head is very complicated. There's all sorts of little fangs and flourishes and all sorts of stuff going on here. Give you gold stickers for the front camera and the back, green stickers for the eyes. Overall looks good though. Giant shoulder binders on this guy with extra thrusters inside. Lots of lining to do on this kit. And it's got the interchangeable hands. But lots of lining here and even more to come, which I'll talk about in a bit. The legs, the waist section's a little loose on this. I remember people saying that the Freedom 2.0 had this problem, and I didn't really have it on my kit. Well, this time I did. So maybe this is a hit and miss type thing on this particular frame. This is not the end-all be-all. This doesn't really affect the kit that much because, quite frankly, it's not going to be on the ground that much, which I'll talk about in a second. So it's not that huge of a deal, and they're not that loose. I do like the back of these legs, all the big giant thrusters and all the piping and the detail work. This thing really reminds me of GP02, the big nuke Gundam from 0083, which makes sense. That was a bad guy Gundam too, but very similar feel. The Dragoons for the skirt armor. Lots of Dragoons on this sucker, 11 to be total. You got these here, they just plug right into the skirt armor. You can plug them right out again, have them flying around or act like they're flying around or what have you. The backpack on this thing is gigantic, and the lining on this thing is more than most Master Raids. You have a ton of lining to do on this backpack, both the front and the back. And it will take a long, long time to do all of it, and will make you use up that real touch marker, trust me. I mean, it is really, 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 really line heavy. Line heavy that makes the high-grade double Zeta a little shy of this thing. That's how line heavy it is. The backpack has a twisting connection, so it can move anywhere you want, no problems. But, surprise, surprise, it weighs a bloody ton. I mean, it's not as heavy as you think it is. The whole thing is basically hollow, but it's still extremely back heavy. Surprise, surprise, I know. The Dragoons on the backpack, you can also remove all of them if you want. Each got different, gun barrels on it. 11 Dragoons total, funnels, Dragoons, whatever. And you plug them right on, they don't fall off, and you pull them right off. They give you an action stand. I went with an action base. Not because I didn't think it could take the weight. This kit isn't as heavy as you think, but just basically I wanted them a little higher. I wanted this kit way up in the air. And the action stand doesn't have any height changing. The action base, you can get it way up there. Add on the decals. I really like the decals on this kit. The seed kits tend to be overkill on the decals. Not this one. There's lots of them, don't get me wrong. But they place them well, and the decals they give you aren't gigantic and over the top. It's almost all sticker decals. There are a few dry transfer, mostly just pinstriping, and even then they're really not that much. But I like the decals. They add just enough for this kit. There you can see the connection into the back. It's not really into the backpack, it's into the lower back of the Gundam, so it doesn't really affect the backpack at all. That connects into a completely different spot, which makes sense. Accessories, you get a gigantic beam rifle, beam long rifle, big friggin' gun. And it's really awkward to pose with. Not impossible. You plug it into the hand, and you gotta finagle it just right so it'll hold it. It doesn't like to hold it on many different angles, and you gotta use the shoulder as a bracing point. However, it can be done. And you got this thing, which is either a really tiny shield or a friggin' monster beam saber. Take your pick. The way this thing works is it folds open, and it plugs into the back of the forearm, and then it collapses around it. So it doesn't really just plug. It hooks into the arm and then wraps around it. So it's never dropping it, ever. And no real problems holding it up. It doesn't weigh that much. And like I said, it's also a gigantic beam saber. It comes with a huge blade, and it's too heavy. To a point. It can hold it up. It just doesn't straight drop it, but it can't hold it all the way up, shoulder length height. But still works okay. And like I said, the blade is huge. It's bigger than my hand, my giant man hands. It's bigger than the gun. It's just really big and very cool. And with some finagling, you see you can take those two dragoons that are at an angle and move them forward so they're firing while still on the backpack. And with a little finagling with the gun and such, you can get some really nice poses out of this thing. But like I said, it's all in the air. They give you an action stand. You can buy an action base, your call. But you weren't doing anything like this on the ground. He's in the air. He's always in the air. But once he's up there, you can get some nice poses. Last accessory, they give you these clear parts. So it acts like the dragoons are firing off the main backpack. So they're all about to fire off and go ruin somebody's day. And that does look really cool. The clear makes it look really nice. At the distance, they just look that they're firing off. That's real nice. I would like to see more of that, actually, for the ones on the backpack. But, what you gonna do? Final thoughts on this kit. I'm giving this kit a thumbs up. This is a good quality kit. The accessories are great. The kit itself is alright. Maybe a little bit better than alright. But it's a fun build. The decals are great. It has a great look to it. I'm not going to give it a nod for the current Kit of the Year leader. That's going to stay with the GM Sniper 2. This has better accessories than that kit did. The GM Sniper 2 had one really good accessory, a bunch of stuff. But the GM Sniper 2 is much more posable, much better frame, much better balance. It was closer than I thought it'd be, let's say that much. But Providence, very good kit. If you want one, and I think you do, pick it up. You will not be disappointed. Just keep in mind, he's in the air. But you kind of knew that when you saw that giant backpack on him. But overall, thumbs up from me. Good kit. If you want one, pick it up. Well, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. Hope you found it informative. If you have any questions, please ask them. I will answer them as best as I can. Please stay tuned for more. I've always got more reviews coming. And thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys next time. Oh, and one more thing. When viewed from this angle, for some strange reason, I feel like I have Raoul Le Creuset laughing inside my head. And for some reason, I feel like having some Tic Tacs.